7 bodies recovered after Israeli assault on Rafah. 1 killed, 14 wounded in Russian guided missile strikes. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, SAHIH. The bodies of at least 7 Palestinians were recovered on Wednesday as Israel's operation in Rafah continues. According to civil defense workers, the bodies, along with some injured, were then transported from Ta'al al-Sultan to relevant areas. An operation is ongoing to find more martyrs in some areas. Palestinian residents said Israeli forces carried out new military strikes in the southern city of Rafah overnight. Health officials said at least 12 people were killed in new strikes in central and northern Gaza. Israel's leaders have claimed they are winding down the phase of intense fighting against Hamas, the group that has governed Gaza since 2007 and will soon shift to more targeted operations in the nearly 9-month-old war in Gaza. But fighting continued overnight in 2 locations at the center of Rafah, where tanks have seized several districts and advanced further west and north of the city in recent days. And concerns about the plight of hundreds of thousands of displaced people are growing. A series of Russian strikes on Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region on Wednesday killed 1 person and injured at least 14. In the afternoon, Russia dropped a guided UMPD D-30 bomb on the regional capital. According to the Ukrainian Defense Express publication, UMPB D-30SN is a new type of glide bomb with an extra engine that propels it much farther than its predecessor UMPK could reach. The Kharkiv chief medic, Viktor Zabashta, said at least 7 people were injured, including an 8-year-old boy. The attack damaged private houses, residential buildings, a postal department and a car wash. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, and the surrounding region have long been intensively targeted by Russian attacks. Russia denies targeting civilians since launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, but thousands of people have been killed and injured. Joe Biden is absolutely not pulling out of the White House race as pressure mounted on the veteran Democrat following his disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump. The 81-year-old Biden has told a key ally he must convince the public quickly that he can do the job, raising the stakes for Biden's first post-debate TV interview scheduled for Friday. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Biden is absolutely not withdrawing from the race, adding he's moving forward with his campaign.
I cannot lay out something that would change the president's mind. He has been very clear, and he's going to continue to build on the unprecedented record that he's been able to lay out for the American people. That's his focus right now.
Democratic establishment figures have voiced bafflement over what they see as deflection, excuses from the president and his aides after his often incoherent debate performance. In Congress, lawmakers see Democratic prospects of taking over the House of Representatives hanging to the Senate and returning to the White House slipping away. The concern was compounded by a New York Times poll conducted after the debate that showed Trump with his biggest lead over Biden, 49% to 43% of likely voters. Other post-debate polling by progressive non-profit Open Labs found that New Hampshire, Virginia and New Mexico, all once safe Biden states, are now in play for Trump. Aware of growing alarm in the party, Biden scheduled a meeting with all 23 Democratic governors on Wednesday evening to make his speech in the swing states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in the coming days. North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO leaders will meet in Washington for a 3-day summit beginning July 9th to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the alliance. Ukraine wants to see a strong decision taken at the meeting as Kiev tries to advance its strategic goal of joining the military alliance. Ihor Jogva, who spoke in an interview before travelling to Luxembourg for a European Union meeting that will formally launch sessions talks for Ukraine, said that Kiev wanted the NATO summit to end with concrete results. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who lobbied unsuccessfully for a political invitation to join the alliance at the summit in Vilnius last summer, has said that this year's summit should resolve the matter of inviting Kiev to join. While NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg and Washington have both said they do not expect the alliance 32 members at the summit to invite wartime Kiev to join, Stoltenberg has said he hopes to show Ukraine is moving closer to membership. Allies have been discussing a possible text in the summit statement that could send that signal, such as declaring that Ukraine's path to NATO is irreversible.
When President Putin launched his full
Britain's party leaders have been making their final pitches to voters in a frantic day of campaigning ahead of the general election on Thursday. Rishi Sunak used a campaign event to repeat his pleas for voters to deprive Labour Party of a supermajority. Speaking in Hampshire, the Prime Minister said the result was not a foregone conclusion and he would fight for every vote.
But we have urgent work to do, my friends, because at this point now we only have a day left to save Britain from the danger of a Labour government. A Labour government that might have a supermajority to hike up everyone's taxes by thousands of pounds, to shift our politics to the left, to make sure we do absolutely nothing to clamp down on illegal migration, to reverse the cost-saving net zero plans that we've put in place.
Meanwhile, Labour's Sir Keir Starmer said his party is ready for what comes next as voters prepare to head to the polls. He told reporters that the changes he had made to Labour since taking over as leader in 2020 were being vindicated.
We stand here on the eve of the election as a changed Labour Party. A Labour Party that has pushed protest to one side, has returned our party to the service of working people and proudly says, country first, party second.
Voters will give their verdict on Thursday. Polls open from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. local time, and an exit poll at 10 p.m. will give the first sign of the outcome with detailed results expected early on Friday. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi swore in a reshuffled cabinet on Wednesday that includes new finance and foreign ministers in a government facing challenges including the Gaza war on its border, economic woes and persistent power cuts. When the resignation of the previous cabinet was announced a month ago, Sisi appointed Prime Minister Mustafa Mabuli, saying his new government should focus on lowering inflation and regulating markets as well as boosting investment. Sworn in as a new finance minister was Ahmed Khushouk, formerly deputy finance minister and facing perhaps the biggest challenge in managing a stumbling economy and a debt burden that has soared in recent years. At the Foreign Ministry, Egypt's ambassador to the European Union, Badr Abdelati, replaces Samih Shukri, a veteran who has steered Egypt's diplomatic efforts to contain the impact of the war in Gaza. Karim Badawi was appointed as Petroleum Minister, Mahmoud Asmat as Electricity Minister, and General Abdel Majid Sakar as Defense Minister. Ministers in Egypt have limited decision-making authority, with real power residing with the presidency, military and security services. Iranian presidential hopeful Masoud Pezeshkian, the sole moderate in the original field of 4 candidates, and former Revolutionary Guards member Saeed Jalili held campaign closing events on Wednesday ahead of Friday's election to replace Ibrahim Raisi. The zealous anti-Westerner and the low-key moderate, hoping to become Iran's next president, could struggle to mobilize millions of supporters in Friday's runoff election amid voter apathy about a tightly controlled contest. Over 60% of voters abstained from the 28 June ballot for a successor to Ibrahim Raisi following his death in a helicopter crash, a historic low turnout which critics of the government see as a vote of no confidence in the Islamic Republic. Pezeshkian, a 69-year-old cardiac surgeon, lawmaker and former health minister, is in a tight race against former Revolutionary Guards member Saeed Jalili. Jalili offers hawkish policies, while Pezeshkian advocates for greater social and political freedoms. Both candidates pledge to address the struggling economy, which suffers from mismanagement, state corruption and sanctions. Bulgaria's Prime Minister designate Rosen Yelzakov of the centre-right GERB party failed on Wednesday to secure support for his proposed cabinet in parliament, prolonging a political stalemate in the Balkan country. Bulgaria, the poorest member of the European Union and one of its corrupt states, has been plagued by revolving door governments since anti-graft protests in 2020 helped topple a coalition led by GERB. President Rumen Radev gave the mandate on Monday that Zelyaskov to form a new government following another inconclusive election last month with 6 in 3 years, but GERB needed the support of at least 2 other parties to secure parliamentary approval. In Wednesday's vote, 98 deputies in the 240-seat parliament backed Zelyakov's minority government proposal, while 138 opposed it. The outcome raises the prospect of yet another election in Bulgaria. The Movement for Rights and Freedom, mainly representing Bulgaria's large ethnic Turkish minority, came second in the June election with 47 seats, while the reformist We Continue the Change PP party won 39 seats. June's election was triggered by the collapse in March of a coalition comprising GERB, which has held power in Bulgaria for much of the previous 15 years, and the PP party. Coming up next, Japan renews banknotes for the first time in 20 years. Police forensic teams on Wednesday conducted investigation at the site of a deadly stampede in India's northern Uttar Pradesh state that left at least 121 people dead during a religious event. Forensic personnel and police with sniffer dogs were seen collecting evidence at Fulrai Mughal Gari village in Hathras district of Uttar Pradesh state, about 200 kilometers southeast of New Delhi, where around 250,000 people had gathered on Tuesday despite permission being given for only 80,000. Police first information report described a scene of utter chaos when the preacher at the congregation, Suraj Pal, also known as Blowy Baba, was living in his car. Thousands of devotees shouted and ran towards the car, crushing others still sitting in the gathering. Some people also fell into the adjacent field of sludge and mud and were trampled there. The location for the event, a mid-paddy field next to a bushy highway, was strewn with waste and partly inundated after rainfall on Wednesday morning. Some erected bamboo poles and a banner with a picture of the preacher remain the only evidence of the tragedy. Japan began circulating its first new banknotes in 20 years on Wednesday, featuring 3-dimensional portraits of the founders of the financial institutions and a women's university in an attempt to frustrate counterfeiters. The notes use printed patterns to generate holograms of the portraits facing different directions depending on the angle of view, employing a technology that Japan's National Printing Bureau says is the world's first for paper money. Those existing bills stay in use. Train stations, parking lots and ramen shops are scrambling to upgrade payment machines while the government pushes consumers and businesses to use less cash in its bid to digitize the economy. Many Japanese fast food restaurants, such as ramen shops and beef bowl stores, rely on ticket machines to cut labor costs, but some small business owners battling inflation are unhappy at the extra investment the new bills entail. Roughly 90% of bank ATMs, train ticket machines, and retail cash registers are prepared to accept new bills, but the Japan Vending Machine Manufacturers Association says only half of restaurants and parking ticket machines are ready. 7 people have been killed as powerful Hurricane Beryl churned towards Jamaica on Wednesday with dangerous winds and sea surge as residents brace for a storm which has caused destruction in the Caribbean. The U.S. National Hurricane Center (NHC) stated the hurricane, unusually strong so early in the Atlantic season, was expected to pass near or over Jamaica in the next hours as a life-threatening Category 4 storm on a 5-level scale. Across Jamaica, people removed boats from the water and tied them to fences for safety and rushed to buy food, water, gasoline and other essentials. NHC said, as of midday Wednesday, the tropical storm conditions are spreading through the island. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has declared an island-wide 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. curfew and urged Jamaicans to comply with evacuation orders. NHC also issued hurricane warnings in the Cayman Island further west, which Beryl was expected to pass near or over on Wednesday night or early Thursday. Then it is forecast to head in a more weakened state towards Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Beryl is the first storm since records began to reach the Category 4 level in June and the earliest to reach Category 5 in July. The flames of Thompson engulf homes and vehicles in Northern California as wildfires rage, sending temperatures soaring and forcing evacuations. Firefighters and helicopters are working to put out the fire. The fire broke out before noon Tuesday, about 110 kilometers north of Sacramento. It sent up a huge plume of smoke that could be seen from space as it grew to more than 14 square kilometers. There was no containment. Firefighters lined roads to keep flames from reaching homes as helicopters dropped water on a growing wildfire Wednesday that has forced at least 26,000 people to evacuate. The local authorities said there had been a significant drop in the fire activity and they believe some residents could be allowed to return home soon. The fire progress was stopped along the southern edge and firefighters working in steep terrain were trying to build containment lines on the northern side. The fire's cause is still being investigated. Orville was declared a state of emergency on Tuesday night and evacuation centers were set up on the foothills and rural areas beyond the city. The governor of the Venezuelan state of Sucre, Gilberto Pinto, said 5 people are missing due to the flooding of the Manzanares River following heavy rains brought by the passage of Hurricane Beryl along the Caribbean coast.
Pero ya son 5 las personas desaparecidas. Están los equipos a lo largo y ancho del puente de Aricagua, están en el puente de Cumanacoa, estamos en el puente de Arena, en los diferentes puertos que es donde tenemos algunas estructuras prominentes en el cauce del río Manzanares, donde pudieran aparecer en alguno de los recodos.
Since early Tuesday, the city of Cumanacoa was flooded by rain dumped by Beryl, which also led the area's Manzanares River to overflow. Hurricane Beryl hit the southern coast of Jamaica this Wednesday with dangerous winds and storm surges after causing at least 7 deaths and considerable damage in the southeastern Caribbean before moving towards the Yucatan Peninsula in southern Mexico. About 25,000 people in that area are also affected by heavy rainfall from the hurricane. According to a report issued by the National Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology, the Category 5 hurricane had maximum sustained winds of 270 km per hour as it moved at 35 km per hour across the Venezuelan Caribbean. French mining group Eramet and China's Tsingshan on Wednesday inaugurated a lithium production plant in Argentina to supply the booming electric car industry. Eramet said the site in the northwestern province of Salta represents an investment of $870 million. It is also believed the plant is expected to produce up to 24,000 tons of battery-grade lithium carbonate per year at full capacity, enough for 600,000 electric vehicle batteries. Eramet's Centenario project in northern Salta province is set to be the first to start production, with the company now testing the equipment and production processes in a key phase known as commissioning. Eramet, which owns 50.1% of the project, is requesting permit for a second plant with a capacity of 30,000 tons, with construction likely to begin next year. it plans to eventually build a third plant of the same size. Argentina, which sits in South America's called Lithium Triangle, is the world's fourth largest producer of the metal and is looking to rev up output with a slate of new projects set to come online later this year. Bolivia has officially removed its restriction on cryptocurrencies and approved their use via Electronic Payment Instruments (IEP). The change in regulatory stance marks the end of a ban on crypto use in the country in place since 2014.
Justo el día del golpe de Estado, el Banco Central estaba informando de una medida importante para resolver esto, que hoy recién estamos pudiendo difundir a los diferentes medios de comunicación, que es el uso de las criptomonedas aquí en nuestro país, que en realidad es un tema ya pues mundial, ¿no? Todo el mundo está utilizando ese tipo de pagos. ¿Por qué? Porque ya en realidad es una estrategia internacional de ya no usar el dólar. Nadie quiere usar.
The move allows financial entities to conduct transactions with digital assets in a bid to modernize its payment system. The central bank said the move was made to help Bolivia elevate its struggling economy and align it with Latin American crypto regulations. Despite the fact that cryptocurrencies can now be traded through authorized electronic channels, the Central Bank of Bolivia has issued a reminder that cryptocurrencies are not considered legal tender and companies are not required to accept them as payment. This means that while they can be used for transactions, they are not recognized as an official currency by the government. Bolivia's cryptocurrencies were previously banned due to concerns over their potential use in illegal activities. Still to come in sports, Sinner holds off Berrettini to advance into Wimbledon third round. We begin our sports segment with tennis. World number one Yannick Sinner survived an all-Italian centre court dogfight against Matteo Berrettini to book his place in the third round of Wimbledon on Wednesday. The Australian Open champion defeated Italian Davis Cup teammate Berrettini 7-6, 7-6, 2-6, 7-6 in a 3-hour, 42-minute duel. Berrettini, who was runner-up to Novak Djokovic in 2021 but was plagued by injuries last year, looked capable of dragging the match into a decider with some heavy metal tennis. Top seed Sinner was wobbling when he went a breakdown early in the fourth set but managed to wrestle back control. Berrettini fired 65 winners, including 28 aces, past the top seed and carved out 4 breaks of serve to 2. However, Sinner calmly recovered from a breakdown in the fourth set before playing the more composed tiebreak, which ended when Berrettini committed his 48th and final unforced error of the contest. The 22-year-old Sinner's quest to add the Wimbledon title to this year's Australian Open will continue against Serbia's Miomir Kecmanovic on Friday. Earlier, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz and 5th seed Daniil Medvedev took time to get going before reaching the Wimbledon third round. Alcaraz defeated Australia's world number 69 Alexander Vucic 7-6, 6-2, 6-2 on the back of 42 winners. The third-seeded Spaniard's only moment of concern came in the first set when he let slip a 5-2 lead and found himself 5-6 down with Vucic serving for the opener. However, the 3-time major winner steadied the ship to race away to victory against a player who got the better of him in qualifying at the 2020 French Open. Alcaraz next faces fellow crowd pleaser Frances Tiafoe, the American he defeated in 5 sets in the semi-finals of the 2022 US Open, on his way to his first Grand Slam triumph. In women's, Naomi Osaka's goal to improve her grass court game will have to wait for at least another 12 months after her Wimbledon comeback stalled in the second round following a 6-4, 6-1 walloping by American Emma Navarro on Wednesday that mercifully lasted only 58 minutes. When the 4-times Grand Slam champion returned to the tour in January following a 15-month maternity break, top of her wish list was to do much better on clay and grass. Unfortunately for the Japanese superstar, she failed to match even her career best third-round showings at the French Open and now at Wimbledon. The 26-year-old former world number one is now ranked at 113, having only returned to the tour in January after giving birth to daughter Shai last year. Elsewhere, Emma Raducanu powered her way into the third round of Wimbledon on Wednesday with a comfortable 6-1, 6-2 victory against Belgian Elise Mertens. Raducanu has struggled for fitness since the stunning US Open triumph in 2021, but looked at the top of her game as she pummeled Mertens into submission from the baseline, shouting and fist-pumping almost every point won. World number 2 and US Open champion Coco Gauff cruised into the third round with a 6-2, 6-1 win over Romanian qualifier Anca Todini. The American, who made her career breakthrough at Wimbledon as a 15-year-old qualifier in 2019, goes on to face British qualifier Sonia Kartal, the world number 298. Mark Cavendish made Tour de France history on Wednesday, winning a record 35th stage at the age of 39. Britain Cavendish beat Eddie Merckx's mark, which had stood since 1975 on the 5th stage of this year's tour near the Alps, having equalled it in 2021. As the peloton swept through the lush Frone Valley with vineyards and pretty villages skirting the river, his Astana team hogged the front right of the peloton as light rain fell. A long home straight in the tiny village of Saint-Vulbas helped them form a lead-out train. The men's missile mastered as it powered across to the finish line well ahead of Belgian Jasper Philipsen, last year's sprint points green jersey winner. Race leader and two-time former winner Tadej Pogačar almost hit a traffic island, causing a wave of movement and a pile of bikes and bodies behind him. But the Slovenian preferred to focus on Cavendish after the race. Pogačar still leads the overall standing, which he enjoyed with the full yellow kit, while Belgian Remco Evenepoel remains second at 45 seconds, with defending champion Jonas Vingegaard third at 50 seconds. Biniam Girmay, who became the first black African to win a tour stage in Turin on Sunday, took the sprint points green jersey on Wednesday after coming ninth in Saint-Vulbas. Cavendish took a moment to congratulate the Eritrean sprinter. In basketball, LeBron James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, has agreed to sign a 2-year, $104 million maximum contract to return to the Los Angeles Lakers. Both ESPN and The Athletic, citing sources, said 4 times NBA champion James would have a player option for the 2025-2026 season and a no-trade clause. James' decision to stick with the Lakers was hardly a surprise, as several outlets reported over the weekend that he intended to opt out of his $51.4 million player option for next season and seek a new deal with the team. In 6 seasons with the Lakers, the 4 times league MVP has averaged 27 points per game, 8 assists and 7.9 rebounds. The Lakers finished 7th in the Western Conference this year with a 47-35 record and went on to lose the defending champion Denver Nuggets in the first round of the NBA playoffs. That's it for World Today. This time around, in our top story, 7 bodies recovered after Israeli assault on Rafah. I'm SAHIH from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.